connecting back to who you truly are inside, it's like you clean your glasses off. And so now you can see the world in a new light.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Amanda Kaufman Show. We are continuing our series on the coaches that don't suck. And I'm so excited to invite my friend Kristi onto the show. Kristi Newman, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Amazing. So just take 30 seconds and let everybody know what your specialty is and what you're working on.
Yeah, so I train horses and coach people with horses. So I have been coaching for 30 years, how to ride and train horses, but also now connecting dots to the lessons that the horses teach us to life, leadership, confidence building. Yeah, so they're pretty incredible teachers, and I connect the dots for people.
That is amazing. So I have to ask, what drew you to coaching with horses? Like, why do that?
Well, they're cute. I love horses. So
I love that. It's like, that's, if you ask me why I became a parent, I'd be like, well, they're cute.
Yeah, obviously. So besides the obvious, I grew up in a very sporty family, and so got into the sport of equestrian, and I was actually in Tokyo helping to run the Olympics.
What?
Yeah.
That's nice.
So, yeah, which was a whole crazy, amazing experience. Tons of learning, personal growth, all those good things. And then I got the opportunity to teach a program through Cops and Kids and another urban youth program, which was taking kids from different inner city kind of programs and bringing them to the farm. That changed my life, watching the transformation of kids and actually the teachers working with the horses. And then, so that kind of shifted, not completely shifted sort of my goals with my own sport, but shifted what I did in the business that I have. So I added that in. Actually, we even just started a nonprofit that is now connecting with different organizations to bring kids out to learn from the horses. So they're incredible teachers, and there's just so much that more than just say riding that horses can teach us. So that's, yeah, that's what happened.
That's really, really cool. And I don't want to forget. If people were interested in finding out more about your nonprofit, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, so at the moment, we actually started the program, but we don't even have a logo yet or a website. Like, we are just getting going. It's called Stable NRG, and it's Nourish, Ride, and Grow. And so right now, social media is probably going to be the best way through my Kristi Newman Instagram, Facebook, all the usual socials, LinkedIn. And that's just being built out. The farm where we run everything is my farm. It's called Silver Fox Equestrian Club, and that's probably an even better spot to find anything to do with horses.
Got it. And just so that the listener knows, like, where roughly in the world are you?
Yeah, so I'm east of Toronto, just north in Durham region. So, and then we actually have an online club that's global, and we teach people all about horses through our digital club that has tons and tons of videos on mindset, but also on like literally how to ride a horse. So we have that as well that you can join for free.
That's so cool. And we'll circle back on that at the end. I just know that I've talked personally, maybe it's just my business and what I do. I've talked to so many people who have, a farm, they work with horses, and they're kind of getting started with the coaching side of things. And this, I think your response will probably apply to anybody in any niche, but what was something that happened when you were first starting this that maybe surprised you, that if you had a chance to tell your past, hey, watch out for this, be prepared for this, like, what would you say as a coach who works with horses?
This is one that I'm noticing that I'm even now, I have to remind myself, is that when you work with horses yourself, like I've been doing it for 36 years working with horses, you take a lot of things for granted. And
interesting.
So there's a lot of things that newcomers to the horse world or to these programs with horses You really have to fill in a lot of information for people because they're not used to working with horses or even being around them. So the stuff that we think is like just normal is not normal to anyone else. And so I think just really anytime I do it, I have coaches that work for me as well, and we talk about it. You really have to piece it down into steps that people can digest because there's so much happening, and there's a lot of excitement and anxiety and fear when you first come to a farm for the first, any environment really, when you go there for the first time. And these horses are like 1,000 pounds plus. And so if you've never been around them, they are big. And so immediately you're kind of like, whoa, I have to like go and work with this horse. And so they're just kind of overcome with a lot of things happening. And so you have to just slow down and piece things together for people and just not take for granted all the stuff that we do day to day with them.
Super appreciate that. And it's so funny because like the whole time you were talking, I was swapping horses for social media marketing, because it's the same thing. I've been working with coaches for the last several years, and I think I worked through a lot of things to be able to do what I do. And I'm first to tell you, I'm not the best in the universe at it. I'm just, I love using media to be social, and that works pretty good for me. I've been around computers and using software and things like that since I was literally 3 years old. And so it's like easy sometimes for me to take for granted, oh yeah, you just click here, here, and here. Or when you're running into an issue, oh yeah, you just do blah, blah, blah. So even with the social media side of things, I was intimidated by that. And a lot of people are, because they're like, oh my God, millions of people could see me. What does that mean? And just like the anxieties about, someone could find out where I live, and then your brain goes somewhere else that's not good and not helpful. And I think and what I was thinking is, I'm like, gosh, that's such a great metaphor for working with a horse, because I still remember the first time I encountered a horse, did not grow up with them. I had that same, like, what if this guy falls on me? Why would a horse fall on you? Like, first of all, but it's like, that's our primal brain when we're exposed to something new.
100%. And I think this makes me think also from a global coaching perspective, or anything really, is when we're working with other people, and like, you're an expert in your field, I'm an expert in my field. I mean, are we actually experts? I don't know. I'm always learning. So, and I'm sure you are too. So.
I know, right? That's why I was like discounting all, and I was like, stop that. I'm like, yeah, but there's so much I could be doing better.
Always. But I think it's a good reminder that we have to meet people where they are at. Mm-hmm. Right. And we have to remember what it's like to be new at something for people, especially in your land and in my land. You really have to step back from where you are, from your perspective, and step into the perspective of the other people, and then see it from there, and then connect dots from that point, not from where you are, right? Because where you are is very different, but then helping people
if you don't mind me asking, how though? Like, how do you unpack what you imagine somebody else is going through? Because we hear that advice a lot, and I think it's really good advice. But if you were to like break down to somebody you were mentoring, this is how you know that you're taking things from somebody else's perspective versus just your own.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so what I feel like we have to do is, for example, I was teaching yesterday. A new group was coming up for our nonprofit, and there's adults and kids, and they're both experience things at the same time, all brand new. And I had a talk with one of the participants and said, feel how you're feeling right now. This is what it's like to learn something new as an adult. And so I think we all have to step into that. And I think as humans, we need to be experiencing new things that kind of step us out of our comfort zone, whatever that looks like. Like, it can be anything. And then remember that feeling of newness. And then you can put yourself into the perspective of that new person that's coming to you for advice or coming to you for help. And then you know what that feels like. And so it really doesn't matter what you're coaching. It's still that newness of uncertainty.
I had a conversation earlier today with somebody else, another interview on the podcast. And we were talking about, what makes coaches great. And I'm going to ask like another question a little bit later on that. But specifically the guest was sharing like, don't get too basically cocky. Like, I think she said it a little bit differently, but she was saying like, if you want to serve people at this highest of levels, you gotta humble yourself. And that's not the same thing as like making yourself smaller or not taking credit for where it's due. But it's more to say like, don't strut around like you know it all, and I love that advice so much. Like, it's a great reminder. You need, like, you, me, everybody, you need to put yourself in uncomfortable situations on purpose. I'll qualify uncomfortable growing situations on purpose, because it's not really about the what that the emotion is coming up for. It's more like activating, this is what it feels like when you're doing that new thing, right? Whatever the new thing is. I love that.
The feelings that we feel like are our experience of life. It's as simple as that. So it's like how you feel is the most important thing, because if you feel amazing, you had an amazing day. If you feel tired or sleepy or not well, you had a tired, sleepy day. Like, so it's how you're feeling totally. So no, I love that.
Yeah, it's so good. So like when you are coaching with somebody, and just kind of maybe building on the feelings thing, or feel free to take this in another direction, but what do you find is the most beneficial to your clients? Like, what do you find that you're working on that is helping them the most?
To connect back to who they truly are.
What does that mean?
That little kid, that without all the world's crap that gets put on us, right? Like and horses are incredible teachers, because you're like I'm a little kid. I'm 46. I see a horse in the field. I'm like, oh, it's a horse. Oh, it's so cute. I've been doing this for 36 years. Like, it's totally ridiculous. But I feel like there's that little kid inside of all of us, and that's who we truly are. And I think people need to feel that again, and feel what it's like to have that kind of, not have all this stuff put on us, and these expectations and these like to-do lists and all the stuff that the world pushes on us. And I think that is what we really try to do here, is connect back to that little person inside who's excited to learn things and experience life.
That's amazing. So when somebody has gone through the work of discovering who their inner child is, their inner self, like, what does that empower them or enable them to do?
I think it allows them to show up in the world the way they want to. So we see life through the lenses. I think it's like putting glasses on. And so these glasses that you're wearing are like all the experiences that you've been through. So now you're looking through these glasses of your experiences and seeing the world how it looks through your glasses. And I feel like connecting back to who you truly are inside, it's like you clean your glasses off. And so now you can see the world in a new light that's more, I don't want to say authentic, but it's more true to you, like as if you were to take glasses off and your eyes were working amazing. It's like you're just like cleaning everything, or cleaning the windshield of your car, and now you can see out it. So you can just have better clarity on where you want to go in your life, how you want to show up with relationships with people, how you want your business to grow, the goals you want to achieve. Like, you just have so much more clarity when you can connect back to who you truly are without all the other stuff, by cleaning that windshield off, is how I would describe it.
I love that. My little slogan is do what matters. And the center of that is so funny story on do what matters. So I've been saying, do what matters forever. And then it came time to like, Amanda, you have an opportunity to go to get a tattoo. And I was like, well, I guess I better get do what matters. So I get do what matters tattooed on my arm. I got my mom to write it in handwriting. Didn't tell her it was going to be a tattoo. It was awesome. So I get it done. And I just felt like I was always like pushing for what matters. And I moved into like this really like, it was very subconscious, super accidental, but it was just, I started to feel all this tension around making sure that I do what matters. Well, fast forward 6 months later, I had a guest at a live event, and she loves tattoos. And she said to me, she's like, do you want to go get a tattoo together? And I said, sure. And so I'm standing there trying to decide on the design, and I decided to tattoo on the other side, let it go, right? And it's kind of like that that windshield thing. So many of us are driving down the road, proverbial highway, and whatever goals or aspirations that we have, because we think we're pretty clear about where we want to go, but there's bugs on the windscreen and there's all this dirt and accumulation, and we don't even realize until it gets clear.
Yeah. 1,000,000%. And then what you have to have the confidence to do is, once you clean the windshield and you realize you're not going the right direction, change directions.
Ooh,
right?
The hard part. So how do you help people through the hard part?
What's that?
The fun part. How do you help people through the hard part and the fun part?
Yeah, that is interesting. So a couple of things that I say to people all the time that I use is slow down to speed up. Because when you slow down and you just kind of take a breath and you build your foundation or whatever, even if we're training a horse, actually, same thing. If we slow down and really get clear on the foundational things, like in life, training a horse, training a rider, training anybody in confidence, coaching anyone, get really clear on the foundation. You can actually build whatever you're trying to build much quicker. So slow down to speed up. The other thing is, I tell people to really trust their intuition. I heard this, I was at a live event, and Bozoma St. John, she's a chief marketing officer. She was Apple, Netflix, Uber. She was incredible, and she was speaking. And she said, your intuition is always right. The outcome of what you think is going to happen because of that decision can be different.
That is so freeing.
Is always right. So I tell people, whatever your gut is saying to do that, but don't hold any weight or feelings on the outcome of that decision. Because you're going to learn the things you were meant to learn to help you forward, because of course, everything is happening for you, not to you. So that's what I tell people, is you have to have the confidence to listen to that little voice inside of you, but don't hold accountable that voice for what happens after you do that, because that is not up to you. You had to listen to it. And it's really powerful, I thought, because it really gives you the confidence to listen to that voice and then let go of the outcome.
So, funny story, us being here was very much the result of just an intuitive hit. I've had this podcast for years, and I just got this feeling that I would like to reactivate it. And I'm sure I had like a suggestion, I'm in coaching programs and things like that, but I get like only 1,000 suggestions a month, to filter through. And something that really just like spoke to me is, I'm like, you've had ideas and designs on that podcast. Like, why don't you move to like an interview style and see what happens? And, we wouldn't be here if I hadn't done that.
It's perfectly perfect. And it's like perfect timing too, because I don't know about you, but I consume a lot of podcasts. Like, I love it. If I'm doing something else, I am listening to podcasts. If I'm working out, I'm listening to podcasts. Like, I'm always listening to podcasts. And it's just such an amazing way for people to connect with you and connect with your knowledge. And it just helps so many people. And so I think it worked out perfectly perfect. Good job.
I think it did too. And like, I was really surprised, because I remember like being very detached to the outcome of it. It's just like, I'm going to follow my nose and I'm going to do this thing. And I ended up getting such a rush of people who said, can I please be on your podcast? I really was not expecting that rush whatsoever. That it ended up like, we turned this whole thing into like a real machine that works pretty smoothly. And it's led to a whole bunch of other conversations that I otherwise would not be having. And I think it's a really good example of that slow down to speed up. And, there really are, just thinking from a business perspective, there's only about a bajillion ways you can succeed.
And you don't even know what they are. And this is what I tell people, don't get stuck up in the how you're going to do something. Just take the next right step and know what you want to feel at the end of it when you reach that goal. And then I have so many examples of thousands of ways things have happened that I would have never dreamt of. Dreamt of. And it's so cool because you just don't know the ways that things are going to show up for you. So you just have to, like you did, trust, take that step forward, and then detach from the outcome and just be like, well, I did the things. I'm just going to keep doing the things, and just
do the things. Yeah. And like, what's your take too on developing excellence? Because, you're clearly a very high performer. I think sometimes we can take kind of that intuitive hit piece and then possibly get a little bit casual at times, with your preparation or with the follow through. So what's your take on, making that distinction between I'm intuitively following the flow, but also at the same time, in order to develop excellence, you have to have commitment, honor that struggle, and really connect with that. And like, I know you're a ridiculously high performer. If you're being invited to the Olympics, for your sport, that's intense. So you clearly know what it takes to stick with something, even when it gets hard. So what would you say to that?
Yeah, I feel like, so interestingly, I don't like, I think when there's struggle that's in alignment with what you love to do, then it's okay. I think struggle that's not in alignment becomes stress. So I feel like that's a big distinction for people. I feel like you can't steer a car that's not moving, right? You have a car on flat ground in neutral, and you can steer that steering wheel all you want. It's not going to move. The car's not going to move. There's no momentum. There's no energy behind it. There's nothing going to make it move unless you got a hill, or someone gives you a shove. Like there's nothing there. The car will not move. So again, our analogy from the highway looking through your windshield, if you want the car to be able to be steered somewhere, you have to get it moving somehow. And you don't have to do anything. I don't think it has to be stressful or hard work, because I think innately humans are actually lazy and we actually don't want to do hard work. So I feel like but you do have to move. And so you have to start taking some steps, and then the next right step will show up, and then the next right, but you have to trust that. And that is really hard for people to do. In my younger years, I used to be the type of person who would like kick the door down to make something happen. And you know how many examples I have of me kicking the door down, proverbially, to get a result. And if I had just slowed down to speed up, I would have had the perfectly perfect situation like a week later, like perfectly lined up, had I not kicked the door down. And then I couldn't take that opportunity that was perfectly perfect because I had pushed my way through a door that wasn't open. And so I invite people to trust themselves that it's okay to procrastinate. Like, it's okay to sit a little bit and take action at a slower speed. Who cares? At least the car's moving. And then you can get some confidence. You can build up some momentum. And then stuff's going to start flying at you as you're driving. And you're going to be like, oh, I can't deal with that because that's not in alignment. Like, I got to keep moving. So I think the main thing is get your car moving, your life, do something. Even if it's researching stuff or do like you're talking about social media stuff, do a post. Nobody wants to do that first post, and videotape themselves and post it, but just do it because it builds that confidence, and then you're ready for the next thing and you build that confidence. So I think, move somehow.
Get moving, right? I love this. This is so good. So Kristi, what are 3 ways that a coach can make sure they don't suck?
Amazing. Honestly, personal growth. You have to know, so if we're talking about lenses, or say you're in your car and we talk about the windshield and you see the world through your windshield. And so if your windshield is dirty, you're going to have a hard time seeing, like we talked about, where you're going, right? The bugs are all over it. If you are trying to meet a client, a new student of yours, because you're a coach, and you can't see clearly through your own windshield, you can't see where that person is in relation to you, because everything in our world that we experience is through that lens that we see it through. And so if your lens is dirty, good luck to you. You just won't be able to help people as well because you won't be able to see where they're actually at. And like we talked about at the beginning, you have to meet people where they're at. But if you have too many bugs and dust on your windshield, you can't meet those people where they're truly at and then actually get them results, helping to connect the dots for them to get them to where they want to go. And I think that's the biggest mistake is, as coaches, we want to help people, but you really have to turn that inside to really be able to.
Oh, God. So good. I
Yeah.
love that. Anything else?
No, I think that's the biggest thing, because everything we're experiencing in our life is in relation to how we see the world. So when we meet that student or that potential client, we're seeing them in relation to us and in relation to where we are going or where we've been, right? Because a lot of times we're helping people that, that was us whatever number of years ago. And so we have to be able to see them for who they are and where they are and what goals they truly want. And yeah, we really have to work on ourselves to be able to really help other people, I think.
I love it. So Kristi, what is the best way for people to follow you?
Yeah, so Instagram's probably a really great way. Kristi.fs.Newman on Instagram. Our farm is silverfox.equestrian.club on Instagram. I would say we actually went viral on Instagram with like 11 million views on a 15-second video. So, if anybody wants to talk about social media sometimes, honestly, zero effort, 15-second video with 11 million views. So just do it. You can go see my silly video that was viral on all platforms by accident.
That's amazing. We'll have to go check that out.
Yeah, it's fun.
All right. Well, listener, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Kristi, for being here.
Oh, thank you so much, Amanda. It was really fun.
Love it. And hey, listener, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss another episode, and go ahead and share this with 3 friends. Like, whether they're starting out as a coach, maybe they are also thinking about bringing people over to check out their horses, whatever it might be, go ahead and share it with your friend proactively so that when they're working out, they're hearing a conversation that will really matter to them. And go ahead and leave a review, because if you take the few seconds to leave a review, it helps other people be able to find the show and to be able to be helped as well. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good one.